is something I don't do often, is leave gaps, but since I'm at the end here, it's okay to do so. But the more gaps you leave, the more bees come up to see you. So the joy of working in a topper hive is that most of the hive goes totally unaware of your presence, except for maybe the short moment that you're there. And so it's nice because it's less intimidating in that way. You leave tons of spaces in here, well then you leave lots of room for bees to come up and want to see you. So they build everything in the beehive by how many bees it takes to fill that space. So they measure between their bodies. They hang on to each other's legs so that they can measure out the distance required to fill up the space that they're in.
So the smoke subdues them?
Yes. Confuses them more than anything. It changes the pheromones in the area. John, can you smoke here, please? We'll just keep it on them for a second. Here, where I'm putting it together.
So were these bees going after mostly like the ohia?
It's hard to tell. I haven't actually processed this honey. Like, I've helped harvest it, but I haven't seen what it looks like the day after to really be able to see the color and clarity that comes from it once it's in a jar. And that's usually how I can tell what's what now that I've been here for a while. As you can see, there's a lot of diversity around here, so there's no way to say that there is a kind of honey. It's going to be multifloral or wildflower or whatever you want to call it. It's going to be a whole lot of everything.
And also what's blooming, right? That's another way to tell. Like
Right, well you can go by what's blooming, of course, but a lot of times what's blooming now isn't what they've made their honey from. So you want to be looking at what, you can keep track of what's blooming so that you can know that whatever was just finished is probably, or what's going on as you're pulling the finished honey, like the previous stuff. Because whatever the nectar is, that's your current bloom. Like, you can kind of tell it like that, unless you have a super productive hive that's just going through stuff. Very attentive hive here. They're not used to such late day visits either. I usually come here at 10:30.
Watch out around your head.
So these bees are used to like morning visits, you know, it's real sunny, hardly anybody's home. Beekeeping is best done between the hours of like 9 and 3. When the bees are the happiest, and most of them are out playing in the field. There's a such thing as honey-bound hives, and what that means is that the bees have not been maintained regularly, so they started to build brood, and then they started to make honey, and because the beekeeper didn't come to tend them, or didn't harvest their honey, and didn't drop back more bars, they'll keep making more honey, but they'll raise their brood on the same combs over and over and over again, and then they get super sick. So what's important to do with how we do it is we'll come, and when the combs are nice and drawn out and straight, we drop an empty bar in between each brood comb, so that we're encouraging them to grow new brood. They'll turn all those old brood combs into honey, so you don't need to be dropping empties in the honey side unless your hive is like so full of brood that you're like, yeah, make some honey, you know? And you want to encourage it, but mostly you want to encourage healthy, clean brood, because eventually healthy, clean bees will make more brood, and make more honey, you know. So it's I always go for creating a strong foundation before I start trying to, like, you know, put stuff on it.
And is there a period of the year when the bees do not produce much honey?
Yeah, during the wet season, which here can vary. I used to say there were certain months where that was, but here we have dearths in December. So, you know, or like droughts in December where it's not sunny, it's not rain, you know, or it's just been totally sunny and not raining. Sorry. So, because of the fluctuations in our environment and climate here, it's hard to say that there's a certain time. It varies. Whenever it rains, bees hang out inside.
So the bees are making honey for them to eat? Is that?
Well, that's kind of that's what they do it for, but the funny thing about bees is that they don't actually like to eat honey very much. they prefer nectar because it's sweeter and it's got more water, so it's more useful to them. It hydrates them and it gives them nourishment. Whereas honey, they have to go find more water in order to drink it, and like it's more of like that thick food staple. They save it for a rainy day. And in a lot of environments, you know, bees don't have year-round forage, so they store honey so they can eat it during winter. In Hawaii, bees don't eat stored honey unless they're like totally cut off from the outside world. So here we have to harvest on a regular basis. So in 2 weeks, these girls got rather creative. Love it when they do that.
This is
What did we name this?
Frida Kahlo. Frida. I think it was because it was kind of a sassy hive.
Oh yeah. A little sassy and off-grid here.
Oh wow.
Like artistic.
Not as artistic as Madame Gaudi, which is this one here.
Oh.
Gaudi, the architect, Spanish architect.
You got some buckets here.
And brooded in the plastic bag.
And they're doing it all right. They're just not doing it straight and easy to work with. So that's why we want to draw a little line that tells us that we don't want to pull those apart. That way next time I come, if they've built this new labyrinth, I know that labyrinth is unopenable. Sometimes you can cut and paste. Like here, I can tell this one's slightly curved, but it stays on the bar, and this is the only place where it's connected. So if I make, it's hard for you to see over there, feel free to come behind me or over here. But if I make a slight cut right here on this comb, and then I make sure to remove any side attachments, which may be here, you always check for side attachments by doing a little wiggle, where you just go down and you can kill a lot of bees going down that way. So notice I do a little wiggle here.
If you ever separate them, do you move them so they're not together anymore? Or?
No, because now they're part of a puzzle. So if you drop an excuse me. If you drop an empty bar in between two crooked combs, they just make 3 crooked combs. So and you can't really put it somewhere else because it's still not straight, right? So I just put those back together and let them be what they are until we're ready to harvest them, which you can cycle through the combs so that you can harvest out those crooked ones. It just takes a little while.
Yeah, they seem a little bit excited behind you here, more so than...
Well, this is their entrance way. So I'm putting myself in the flight path right now. All of you should be safe.
Is that glass or plastic?
It is glass. We have a window in here, and that way we can see it from the outside. Not all of them have windows.
What are you looking at?
There's a window there.
If you want to open that, you can look while I do that on the side with different perspectives. Here, her leg got stuck in the wax, and she's quite frantic, but all I have to do is move some pieces and she's free.
Very cool.
So I just cut off those side attachments over there, and I'm going to lightly separate these.
Kill it. Not happy either.
So you see again here they made 2 combs and brought them together to make one. They've got this little passageway in between, in the center.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got little tunnels. See what I mean? How every hive is so different. That hive we were just in didn't do these little tunnel ways and like, you know, doing stuff like that. See how they've bubbled out over here? That's why, since every hive is different, it's good to just remember to work with them as they choose to develop rather than try to make them something else.
So these are all the same type of bees?
This hive came from that hive. It's all about positioning, how the direction, like how they relate with the sun. This hive, the bars are going this way, that way they're going that way, and that used to face this way and we moved it that way. So we totally like changed their whole directioning, right? And that messes up some of their stuff, but you can see how strong they are. They recover from it.
So there are no men in here?
Oh, there's drones, but none of these hives, these 2 that we've been into, oh, there's the queen.
Oh yeah, there she is.
And you can tell she looks a lot like her mama.
She's big. She's longer. Somebody's doing a dance there.
We trying to get a picture? Did you get one?
No.
Oh, she's here.
Watch out. One just landed on your shoulder there.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm used to it.
I don't think she's just checking you out. She's not going to sting you.
No. Oh, I can tell when they're gonna sting me. I'd already be like, John, smoker.
That was just a see who you are first.
Yeah, it was a friendly pause, just cleaning herself. See, they piece their combs together rather nicely. Now this was kind of an interesting thing to see. She's going in cycles, but she's ahead of things. So she laid here. This is all new stuff, and she laid here first. So my guess is the bees had something here that she couldn't lay in, like they're in this patch right here. So she laid everything, and then they cleared stuff out, and she's able to come back and lay in here. But if you look, you can still see the spiral, and like the whole, like she's got it all together. It's nice and tight.
So capped at the top is the honey?
Yes. Honey, capped brood, uncapped brood, and capped brood.
And no nectar.
And there's a spiral?
Very little nectar. There's a few cells. The spiral I'm talking about is how the queen moves when she's laying. So you're not actually going to see the spiral. You see the spiral and looking at the progression of light in the comb. Like she moves in that way. There's a lot of, if you read about the golden mean and like, sacred geometry with bees, there's a lot more you can learn about all of that. You notice how once you get them off, they come right back on?
That pollen in the middle?
Yeah. So we got pollen here in the center, nectar all around it, and a little bit of honey on the side.
So why do you take that off instead of letting them live on it?
Well, some of this I'm going to take off because it's crooked, and it's going to lead to more of a mess, and it could fall on its own, and then it would be really messy.
Now, what extraction method do you use on your honeycomb?
We mash it.
Yeah, the extraction.
Yeah. I used to, use the extractor for all my Langstroth stuff, and even with Langstroth frames, I find that mashing it's much easier. Less clean up, and less stuff to clean.
I know back in the early 80s, we had a family friend who had a pretty good sized beehive operation, I guess you would call it. And it just seems the less you touch or get messy with the honey, the better. Less contact you have.
Totally. Well, they're quick on the cleanup, and they get a little frantic when you make messes. Like, did you notice how when that comb fell, they started making a different sound? They hummed a little louder because they're like, we worked so hard to contain that, and now look at this mess you've made. It's like bees are very task oriented, and when you take them from their task, they definitely let you know that you've interrupted their flow. Normally I caution people about doing the flicking thing. I think I've gotten pretty comfortable at knowing my boundaries, but fast-paced movements over a beehive are always they get attention. I'm gonna come give these girls a little puff of smoke now that we've cleaned up the big mess. And so now we still have several other combs that are stuck together, but at least that one is cleaned up and nothing else looks like it's gonna fall down. We don't want to harvest these yet, even though it's all nectar and honey, because really we want them to cap it off into honey so we get, really nice product. Thank you, John.
Is this too watery to keep?
Yes. It'll ferment, and if you're gonna make like John or mead or beer or something fermented and delicious, it's fine to harvest it. But even that, your ratio can be off in your measurements because there's more water in the nectar, so you have to use more nectar to make up for the water content. So your recipes will vary greatly. So this is quite a large comb. It's one of the older combs in the hive. You can notice it's darker. They've raised multiple generations of brood on it. Now my eyes are always moving in that spiral pattern, looking for the queen. There she is. Didn't see her at first, but she's on this next one here. I'm gonna see who can spot her first. Got it?
Yeah.
Anybody want a picture?
Where is it? I've never seen it. Where is it?
Bee wrapping around because the wings are stuck here. She's right there. Which one is it?
Sticky bees on my leg.
You can brush them off. They'll leave you alone. All right, so I'm gonna
He
put her
flies
back
off on
in.
his own. He's
You
sticky.
know how those queens are? They're rather
There you
vain.
go.
They're not vain.
weird
Modest. That's
to
really
me.
the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
Like,
Just trying to get himself off this idea.
oh no, when he landed, it was
We didn't see any
took
queen
like
cups on
Velcro.
this hive yet, did we?
Nope. They know they got it all under control.
Oh,
Luckily we
so-
did that harvest last time. I think that kind of gave them the desire to slow down a little bit.